Good afternoon, and thanks for Ligeti Zentrum for inviting me. So the theme is friendly sounds in Children's Hospital. What is friendly? That is an eternal question, but everybody has an idea of that. And my name is Antti Ikonnen. I'm a senior university lecturer at Aalto University, which is a merger of art and design school, business school, and technical university since 15 years. So it's a big multidisciplinary institution. But I've had this Sound in New Media International Masters program for 15 years already. So we take in 8 students per time, and the teaching is in English, and we have students literally from all around the world. If you Google towards friendly soundscapes, there's an online article about my work in the university. So this is a facade of the hospital, and it was taken into use 6 years ago in 2018. As you can see, it's very colorful and of course looks nice in the summer sunlight. And the background of the project is a new hospital with a generous art budget. Like in the Nordic countries, hospitals are government funded, but in addition to that, this hospital got a lot of donations from companies and private donators. And a big part of that money was spent into art of all sorts, which is mostly visual, of course. In the hospital corridors, there's a sculpture outdoors. But this soundscape was sort of part of this art project in the hospital. And the decision to have this soundscape was made in very early phase, before the building didn't even exist. So the hospital had this idea to have a soundscape as a part of the interior. And that's where I came to picture with my students 3.5 years before the hospital was opened. So we were part of the process discussing with architects and engineers and hospital personnel, doctors, the IT people of the hospital, how to implement this soundscape. The hardware is a donation. There are 2 Finnish loudspeaker manufacturers, Genelec and Panphonics, who donated the loudspeakers to this sound installation. And then there's a computer and other gear which were donated. And the content production, the actual sounds and designing how the sounds work there, was a project led by me and realized by me and my students. And yes, it's a research project which still goes on, and this is the reason why I'm here today. So we had a steering group, or it still exists, with expertise in soundscape research. Then a specialty in medicine, music medicine, actually. And then there was a representative from the hospital, and then myself. The production team, I was there as well, and then master students, 8 major and 2 minor students. The minors are often in my program from the acoustics lab, which is part of the engineering school of Aalto. And then one important person which I mentioned in the very first meeting discussing this project, that we need a person who will debug the system, because we were using technology, digital audio technology, which was brand new. When we planned this project, these loudspeakers didn't exist yet, but Genelec promised we should have the speakers when it's time to install them. So when you are dealing with completely new technology, things don't work like you take them from the package and you read the manual, but what is between the manuals, that's the tricky part. So the mission was to make the hospital sound more friendly. And my kind of description of this in a nutshell is to make sounds which the children can discover and find in the hospital as a little surprises. But we should not disturb the staff who work there 40 hours a week, and of course the doctors might work longer days. So these are in some sort of a contradiction, because something which you expose for a little while might be stressful when you need to be in it, in an environment, in a soundscape, in a situation for a full working day. This is my first visit to the construction site. I've taken these pictures. We were discussing the loudspeaker placements. The loudspeakers are not in the patient rooms and not in the operating theaters, but in corridors and lobbies, parking hall, elevators, in locations where nobody is sitting and spending their day of work, or people just pass by, and which are kind of shared public places in the building. So Ligeti Institute is working on music therapy. I try to avoid the word therapy or medicine in this context, not that I would not believe that the soundscapes can be healing and restorative, but because of not, how to say, challenging or violating the expertise of medical scientists or therapists, because that's not my field. I'm a sound designer and a composer and a teacher, of course, as well. But there's research on impact of sounds, of course, and it's commonly known that nature sounds have a relaxing effect on human beings, and some sort of sounds are more kind of how would I say, disturbing than others, and then when you go loud enough, it can cause physical damage, as you know. So I would call this project a multi-sensory interior design, where sound is included. You can think of any interior and think of the colors of the walls or the surface of the floor, whether it's hard or soft, or the lights, whether the light color of the light is warm or cold. So sound is a similar kind of element here. And then sound is also a medium between people and their environment, so how people orientate in the building or anywhere. Everyone knows this by experience, that sound is very important in guiding us in environments and telling us about our surroundings. But as I wrote there, this is not music therapy or these healing frequencies. This refers to brain research where certain kind of frequencies related to human nervous system and body functions are said to be beneficial for well-being, and some not. And part of this is science, and part of that is kind of a conspiracy theory stuff. But regardless of that, this is not what we are aiming at. And this is not the promise we give. So generative soundscape and different atmospheres. What we are hearing now in very low volume is the soundscape of the underground parking lot of the hospital. And this is generative, so it means that even though I know the elements of this soundscape, there is some violin motifs, there's a bubbling of water and some other sounds. I don't know what will happen in the next 10 seconds even, or not to say about next minute or later on, because the computer is generating this soundscape from these ingredients as we listen in real time. So this is not a playlist, it's not a loop, it's like a kaleidoscope. If you look into the tube, you know that it's the same set of colorful little pieces of glass, but when you turn the tube, it's never exactly the same. So variation is what happens in nature. When you go to a forest, you know that there are birds and wind and perhaps rain, your own footsteps, but it's never exactly the same. We are kind of, the evolution has calibrated us to understand the soundscape as a ever-changing dynamic system. And different floors of the hospital have different visual identities and hence oral identities, so the soundscape is different in each floor, as well as in the 7 elevators, which have a specific soundscape as well. And it's permanent, the installation. It's running there 24/7 since 6 years as we speak. And of course it required a lot of computer programming to make it robust and durable. We started with very kind of a broad scope of different concepts. I'm here in the classroom writing down some food for thought for discussion. I'm mentioning Erik Satie and Brian Eno and so on. And this is, I'm sorry for my horrible handwriting, but this is my pedagogical method. We discuss, and as we talk, I draw and write on the whiteboard with different colors. So instead of some sort of manuscript like a storyboard or a musical score, this is the abstraction of. The sounds are integrated to the building, both technically in terms of cables and wiring and so on, and also in terms of the atmosphere they create. So what was the commission from the hospital? We co-created the brief with the hospital management, because when we discussed what the soundscape should be like, the hospital representatives told me, well, you are the sound design experts. You do something nice and restorative and friendly. And since we needed to have, as in any design project, we needed to have some sort of a design brief to discuss about and to reflect on as the project went on, I suggested that why wouldn't we take the visual guidelines as the audio guidelines? because the visual guidelines was already there and approved by the hospital management. So in the visual guidelines there is nature in a sort of a vertical geographical sense, that it begins from the underwater world, which is this parking lot here, and then the entrance floor is shore, and then there's meadow and forest and valley and mountain and magic and space and star. Then Tove Jansson's Moomin characters are part of the visual world. There you probably know this famous children's book, which many adults like myself are very fond of as well. So the sounds are embedded into the interior. And this is the visual guideline with the permission from the architect company. The text is in Finnish, but it doesn't matter. So here you go from the underwater world upwards, and all floors having a different soundscape, matching the visual thematics, except the third floor here, which is for operations and intensive care. So there's it's very special floor, and there's no soundscape according to the philosophy of this project. It's only there where anyone, the kids and their parents, can access, and visitors. And this was on the classroom wall for 1 year, the floor plans of all the floors, kind of inspiration and reminder of the scale of this project. So what are the sounds? We listen to the parking lot. There are nature sounds with musical elements and imagination. So there are also sounds which don't refer to an existing object or are not music or nature, but sound effects, one could say. And there's a lot of diversity, different kind of nature sounds, mostly recorded by myself and the students. And then these musical, let's say, building blocks, not even motifs, not to speak about melodies or entire pieces of music, but these gentle violin pizzicatos which you hear, they create an atmosphere of major harmony, which most people like and consider positive. Synthetic sounds was a bit kind of challenging, because my idea was that in the upmost floors, if the themes are space and star, there can't be birds singing. Of course, space is in real life it's totally silent, but we added some gentle synthesizers to the upmost floors. So this is yet another, let's say, more structured representation of what's going on. On the left you see the pool of audio files described, so there are nature sounds and musical elements. And then the colorful arrows, they sort of show that any sound can be addressed to any floor. So we utilize the same material, not kind of all sounds in all places, but selectively. And also more common sounds, and then more rare sounds which you don't hear too often. And this is one of the students recording Tibetan bowls in a yoga studio. And we thought that this is definitely something which kind of makes you relax and increases all sorts of positive energies. However, the original plan was to put these Tibetan bowl sounds to the elevators, and this didn't work because if you think of a contemporary elevator, it's a steel box. It's made out of metal, and when we put these metal sounds into a small metal cabin, they didn't sound nice anymore. So we changed the elevator sounds and used these in another place. So it's not a playlist, it's not a loop, it's an audio engine which you could think of a huge kaleidoscope or huge wind bells. Wind bells, the metal bars hanging and the wind making them chime, except that in this digital wind chime there are many different kind of sounds, not only the nice sounds of the metal bars and more rules how the sounds behave. So not only less and more, but complex rules. Digital speakers. This technology didn't even exist when we started the project, but Genelec, the manufacturer, promised that when the time comes, we should have these, and they did. So it's a loudspeaker which you connect with an Ethernet cable, not an audio cable. So the sound comes as a data to the loudspeaker, and then it's turned to audible sound. There's one computer in the basement of the hospital in the server room, Mac Pro computer, and the audio engine is programmed with a programming environment called Max, which is nothing special and not very recent and anything. It's kind of, but it's flexible and reliable tool. And 60 channels of audio. When you have your headphones, you have 2 channels, left and right. And then you might have 5 channels in a movie theater, or even 7. Here we have 60 channels. Of course, one does not hear them all at the same time because they are in different floors. Dante network, that's technical trivial. That's like in digital audio something like internet protocol or email or whatever. But we are using the built-in Ethernet cables of the hospital, so we didn't need to add any wires except the kind of power to the electricity to the loudspeakers. So there are no audio cables, which is very cost effective, and the sound is clean and pure however far it travels from the basement to the upmost floors. Here is the floor plan of the parking lot. In this screen, the little green dots are not very well visible, but the green spots are the 9 loudspeakers in the parking lot. And the parking lot is the loudest for several reasons. First of all, there's always noise. There's very sort of powerful ventilation because of the exhaust gas of the cars. Then there are tire noises when the cars drive, however slow, and then of course the engines of the cars. Secondly, nobody spends there more than 2 minutes. So the sound, this soundscape, is so loud that you notice it almost immediately. It's not loud as nowadays, rock concert or even in a announcement in a airport or shopping mall. But you notice it certainly. And the third point is that nobody is sitting there and working their kind of 8-hour day in this location. So nobody is exposed to this sound, the parking garage soundscape, more than a few minutes the maximum. And it's sort of the entrance to the building. Here are students in the server room figuring out some technical issues. And this is a room next door without the noise of the server ventilation, where this is kind of a remote control to the computer in the previous picture. And this is the software. It's kind of virtual knobs and sliders and virtual cables connected to each other. So how did we end up deciding what sounds good and what doesn't sound that good? By listening and listening and listening. We spent one full academic year doing this project. After 2 years of myself sitting in these meetings, kind of planning the thing. So first we listen the audio ingredients, like one squeak of a seagull or one violin passage, and decide, well, this is nicer than the other. Then we combine these. We put these violin pizzicatos on top of the bubbling water sound. We listen to that. And in the end, we demonstrate a full hospital floor. We had one corridor on the campus and with 6 loudspeakers, and we were listening and thinking of okay, whether this is nice or not. And the students were sitting there doing their homework and at the same time trying to listen and not trying to listen, because this is not the music you are supposed to listen in the way you listen your favorite record or playlist. So we fine-tuned the soundscape on location in the hospital. We spent one full weekend before the opening of the hospital. It was completely empty and untouched. This was a once-a-lifetime experience, I would say. The hospital was very kind of, how do I say, collaboration-minded in this sense. I said we need to adjust the sound in the hospital, but we can't do it in the studio. Well, take the full hospital. Is 1 week enough? I said, well, if we work long days, that will do. And since this sound doesn't have a beginning or end, we can't judge whether the guitar solo is too long or whether there should be another chorus after the verse. But we need to listen to the behavior of the soundscape. So how the soundscape behaves. Is something too loud or too low? Or something happening too seldom? Or should we add longer pauses or intervals and so on? We were optimizing the loudness and the density of the soundscape. Here is the parking lot. My students standing there, and this was playing. Here is the second floor. More locations, and in the end, upmost floor, and tired but happy faces. We did it. It's working. This was a one-off hack in the system, so that we had a laptop connected to the basement where the actual computer is, and via the wireless network. So we were sitting like here and then moving these virtual sliders. Okay, put it a bit lower, and so on. But other than this, it's not on the internet, so it's a closed system. So it's impossible to kind of attack from outside by some hacker. So it's safe in that sense, which is important. We won the building won, the architects won the Finlandia Prize for Architecture in 2018 when the hospital was opened. And 1 year later, here in Hamburg, we were awarded with Grand Prix in the International Sound Awards, which is given by the Audio Branding Society based in Hamburg. So in future, we are developing this all the time. But what about doing another one? This is a tricky question. We did a survey with almost 300 entries to a questionnaire and then some interviews. And the kids and their parents, they liked this more than we could believe in our dreams. It was very positive, the feedback. Whereas the nurses gave a lot of criticism. However, when trying to think the reason for this, we ended up also via discussions with the hospital personnel that it was a new building. The nurses have new clothes, new electronic keys, new computer systems, new boss, new everything, and a lot of stress to learn all these new things. And this was the first ever questionnaire given to them. Okay, how do you feel? So are you asking about sounds where it sounds bad? But this is very human and understandable. So I think it was more our fault, or let's say the hospital didn't give us the chance to communicate about this project to the hospital staff, which is very important. So there were rumors that there will be some sort of a playlist playing in the hospital 24/7 or something like this, because there was not enough information. So we are doing better now with the nurses, and actually they've hoped to have this soundscape in other extra locations in the hospital. So this could be all in one scalable service and product. But the challenge is it's not the technology, it's not the content, but it's how to get a hospital to kind of want this kind of thing. This was easy because when I came in, the hospital already had decided that we want to have a soundscape in the hospital. But it doesn't work the other way around, that if I would go to a hospital and good morning, Mr. or Mrs. Hospital, would you like to have a soundscape here in your hospital? And then it's kind of what are you talking about? It's as I told, tactile surfaces and colors and lights are easier to demonstrate. But the sounds, this is a sort of a demonstration of how the sounds are, and you might imagine when looking at the picture of the parking hall these sounds there, but you can't tell how they are before they are on location and installed. So to conclude, here is the project in a nutshell. Friendly environment and holistic design, atmospheric kind of, I would say, interior design, integrating the sounds, digital technology, and so on. This is a picture from a website. There is a website where you can listen listen, sort of tasters of the soundscapes, except the elevators, but others. You can click on these icons and kind of, it's like not eating the full dish, but you go to a supermarket and there's some person kind of, we have this new kind of, please give it a try. So these are tasters, not the actual thing. So imagination in the content, because it's for kids, they are open to new things and placed in the open access areas. And here is the statistics of the survey. When reading the open answers by kids and their parents, it appeared that the negative experience are almost entirely related to other sounds than the soundscape sounds. So the annoying sounds were from plumbing or ventilation or medical equipment or things like that. And this is a quote from one kid. I feel safe and that this building is designed for us. So this is the best feedback one could get. So that's it, more or less. Here is our crew, steering group, and students in their different roles in the project.